Hi, g'day IB psychology students. I've been doing some reviewing of the last 3 exam seasons we've had in IB psychology, and it got me thinking if I have to revise my 7 steps to SAQs that you might have already seen in other videos. I made this one, how to answer any SAQ, and then this led into 7 steps to excellent short answers in IB Psych, and I use this template or this framework to write some example answers. You can check these out. There's a link in the description for these, just to see if it really worked. Now, I still stand by this advice. I think it's really good advice. It covers everything you need for the rubric and to score top marks. But there's one particular type of question I think we might need to be careful of. And so just to review the 7 steps or my general framework for short answer questions. You write your introduction, which is about 2 sentences. You get into a central argument. Then you have the supporting evidence of a study, and then you have the conclusion. Now, I devised this so students could get away from focusing about the silly command terms that don't mean anything in short answer questions, right? It's just if we have the structure, we can answer any question. And then so we can see here, right? Now, I've been caught out here liking my own video, but hey, someone's got to do it. So the 7 steps more specifically are you restate the question, state the study. That's your 2-sentence introduction. Then you define the key term in the question, explain the topic or provide a central argument, describe the study, aims, methods, results, then explain the conclusions of the study, and then if you need to, you have an optional like a 1-sentence summary conclusion to the answer. But often you don't need that. Now, this applies to all 5 types of questions you might see in the IB psychology exam. How a variable influences behavior, models or theories, research methods, ethical considerations, but it's this number 3, it's this research related to question that I want to review in this video. Now, before I get into that, I'm pretty excited. We have our flashcards are printed and they're ready. Some people have started ordering them already. Thank you very much. These cover key studies for 72 key studies, the key theories and models for paper 1, research methodology terms that you might need for paper 3, and the key terms for paper 1. All color-coded that goes in line, the same color coding as the revision guide. You see here detailed information about the theories. We've got the key term on one side for the key term flashcards, and the definitions on the reverse. Fully writable, so you can personalize them, make your own notes. So for example, acculturation, you might write here what's one example, and then on here you put the answer, because everyone's going to be using different examples, so you can customize them. And they cover the new terms that were added after all the textbooks were published, so you're fully covered for any exam question there. And there's a good level of detail in the key studies as well. So check those out, link in the description. Okay, so getting back to the 7 steps. So they are, right, you restate the question, state the study, key term, right, this is what it looks like. Okay, so we're just going to review this here, the research related to aspect. Now, let me just turn myself off here. Right, so these are from the last 3 exam seasons. Now remember, there wasn't exams in May 2020 because they were cancelled, and so I just want to show a bit of a trend here that we can see. These studies in blue all have something in common, and they are that research related to type of question I mentioned earlier. These other questions are the other types of questions, but we see here there's an increasing focus on studies in the short answer questions, and culminating in November 2020 with all 3 questions beginning with or putting the primary focus on the study. Describe one twin or kinship study with reference to a study. Describe one study investigating cultural norms. Well, you see here, the cognitive question is very similar to May 2019 social cultural question, but this one said outline social identity theory with reference to one relevant study. This one reverses that with reference to a study, outline one model of memory. Now, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but it seems to me like that might be a deliberate change. There's more of a focus on studies in SAQs, and I really don't like this focus. It annoys me a little bit because I want to teach a course in psychology. I want the concepts and the psychological knowledge to come first, and the studies are supporting evidence. I think the fact that we've reversed that in IB psychology and we place this emphasis on studies is why students' answers are too descriptive. There's not much analysis, and often it's just regurgitating studies. In 20 years' time, I don't care if my students remember the studies, but I definitely hope they remember the concepts that I've taught them. Anyway, that little gripe aside, this is why I wanted just to rethink the 7-step approach, in particular with these types of answers. Now, if we look at the subject report from May 2019's exam, this was a question in the cognitive approach. Describe one study investigating reconstructive memory. Now, in the Time Zone 1 subject report, they said that Okay, they said that not many candidates were able to show explicit conceptual understanding of reconstructive memory beyond a superficial statement of memory being unreliable. Now, it's statements like this which led me to create that 7 steps, because I don't want students just to have the study without explaining the topic, without showing the conceptual understanding of the topic in the question, in this case, reconstructive memory. However, there's a bit of a curveball when we look at the time zone 2. Now, the opening line to this one, this report for this question was, the question asked candidates to describe a study. Some candidates wrote long responses about reconstructive memory with very little detail of the study. This is kind of a little bit confusing. Well, which should students write about? Should they show their conceptual understanding of reconstructive memory, or should they describe the study? This report goes on to say top responses were able to correctly identify the aim, procedure, or findings of a study while showing conceptual understanding of reconstructive memory. That's a tough ask, but the bottom line here is that you need to be able to show both things, knowledge of the study and knowledge of the topic, even though this question here doesn't really lend itself to supporting students or showing students that they have to talk about reconstructive memory in detail. Again, why use those 7 steps? So the mark scheme also says the description of the study should include the aim, procedure, and results of the study. The description should explicitly demonstrate conceptual understanding of reconstructive memory. Now, I would argue that it's very difficult to do that in the aims, methods, and results of a study. You need a separate explanation, i.e. a central argument. But regardless, that's what the mark scheme said. Now, so I would just suggest this one revision to those 7 steps, a real basic tweak, if this type of question comes up in the exams that you're studying for. So I would just suggest maybe switching the putting the study above the argument and the argument after for SAQs where it says describe one study related to. And I have some examples down here on the side. Right? So let's have a look at what that might look like. So if the question was describe one study investigating reconstructive memory, right? Might not come up again. That was the last exams, but it could. So restate the question, state the study, right? Restating the question is one study investigating reconstructive memory is Loftus and Palmer. Now, I recommend restating the question for a couple of reasons. One, it shows your focus on the question from the very beginning, and it's good practice for your essays. You can get 1 mark just by writing that 1 sentence restatement of the question, right, for criterion A. Then you get into the definition of the key term. In this case would be reconstructive memory. That shows your knowledge of the topic. Now, this is where the tweak happens. You describe the study first, right, and then explain the conclusions of the study. And if you need to, so in this case, right, I would describe Loftus and Palmer, their aims, their methods, their results. I would explain the conclusions, how that study demonstrates reconstructive memory, and I'd be going into the second study with the broken glass, because that's better, plus the verbs in the first study, right, including both. Even though it's 2 experiments, it counts as 1 study. And then if I wanted to, if I had time, or if I thought it was relevant to the question, I could then explain the topic, which in this case, the topic the example that I encourage students to include is misinformation effect. So after talking about Loftus and Palmer and reconstructive memory, I might then say, to show more detailed conceptual understanding of reconstructive memory, talk about misinformation effect and how the misinformation effect can demonstrate the concept of reconstructive memory. And so the fact that I'm just making that slight tweak by putting the explanation of the topic or the central argument after the study can just make me a little bit more focused on the question. Bottom line is, though, you do need to have both things, and it says describe one study, so you want to be able to describe that study in really good detail. Loftus and Palmer, by the way, is one of our flashcard studies. Did I mention they're on sale now? And then we get into the 1 sentence conclusion. So in my 10 example answers pack, I began this type of question. I tried to have 1 SAQ that covers those 5 types. And then this one here is outline 1 study related to 1 model or theory of cognition. And then in this example, you can read about how I began with the 2-sentence restatement and then the topic first, right, to show conceptual understanding, and then the detailed explanation of the study. This goes on for another couple of 100 words. Over here in the examiner comments I wrote, right, that in answering this type of question, it's fine to have the argument first followed by the study. You could also have the study first and then explain its relevance, right? So you could flip it there. And in fact, I showed an example of that in this bonus SAQ, again, included in this pack, where I began with the study and then had the explanation afterwards. So the bottom line is that you have to show conceptual understanding of the topic as well as knowledge of the study. Now, I devised those 7 steps because I want to make sure that students do both of those. I want to reduce the focus on command terms because I don't think they're helpful. And also, I want to encourage students to explain topics and have conceptual understanding of psychology. And then the studies are the supporting evidence that go along with it. But again, with this type of question that the IB seems to like with the SAQs, you might want to simply make that tweak. If you're aiming for a 7, that's not too much to ask for. Right, more resources on the store, link in the description. We have these 3 resources here. These flashcards go with the revision guide, right? They're the condensed version of the revision guide. And again, so I've also bundled these together so you can save some money and time just by buying those in packs. Now again, one study related to, right, I've tried to make these to about 100 to 150 words, perfect amount of detail for an SAQ, right, and not too much that you can't remember all of it. And these, I'm not sure if I mentioned already, sorry, these come with a digital download that show you how many studies you need for each topic, right? How to do the whole exam in less than 50 studies, and only about 35 if you're an SL student. And also the topics that they go for on the front cover as well. Okay, you can go to the store and you'll see the full list of flashcards that are covered. You can download that list so you can see which ones are there. Right. I hope that was helpful. You know all the links, you know what to do with subscribing and liking and all that stuff if you need more help and support. Okay, thank you and good luck for your exams.